Oh, I did. I guess I wrote Travis Crabtree, formerly Bobby Joe Crabtree, drove to Texarkana with the intent to buy a fancy hippie-proof outhouse, but came back to Folk only with the dead hippie in his truck.
How about this one?
I just didn't want any dead hippie jokes.
They got really sick of all the dead hippies stinking up the town because they were just laying there in piles, just rotting and stinking. And like, what are we going to do? We have to stop killing all these hippies. That's when they realized the hippies were actually alive and just smelled really bad.
It's Steady Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted. This time I'll get you, and your little dog Pickles too.
It's Steady Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. Woo! The show where we create revenge sequels to these awful movies we watch. And first, we draw a wild card question because this movie we watched, right off the top of our heads, it's everybody's favorite part of the show. They love this part of the show.
The suspense.
We decide who in this movie, which the movie we watched is Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yes.
So who in this
Part 1.
Part 1. Who from this movie would be most likely to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Wow.
Did you write that down?
That one's ironic. As a piece of trivia I read about this one is nearly almost no one from this movie ever appeared in a movie again. I just want to, but this is a break in my personal mythology I want to address. All right.
What's happening?
Wow. You'll have heard other episodes by other, shall we say, lesser guest hosts. Take that, Keenie Kabumo. But keen listeners to the podcast will remember we have a little section we've been trying out here. It may stick around, it might not, called Things That Are Outrageous. And I was talking about how my dear cat Franny had like a little bit of a fever or some cold. I forgot what it was specifically. That spiraled into like a whole week's long fiasco of my cat being very, very sick. And I had to take her to the cat hospital and, she was in the cat hospital for nights, which that's not fun. And she seemed like she was maybe not going to make it. And this was all coinciding with like a crazy deadline I had for my second book of my upcoming Asgardian series, Thor. So basically for a couple weeks, I was not able to record. Tim handled it, we could say relatively well. Well, you could definitely see spots on the wall behind him where he punched it in fury. Well, I'm just not outraged this week. I'm just so grateful because my cat Franny's back and she's alive and well and my book's done. And all my cats had colds. They all, like Franny brought back some weird bug. And so there was like a day where I had 5 sick cats around the house, which was kind of a lot. But now everything's kind of nice and at least for the nonce. As I'm recording this, everything is well in the world. Because of the happy resolution now, I have my cat back. She's on the couch downstairs. It's kind of funny because they had to shave her belly, so she's got this really pink belly, and it's really fat.
That's
but I have eschewed revenge. I'm no longer a revenge, outrageous man. I'm just kind of
happy.
I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing in this podcast anymore because I'm not going to make revenge sequels. I'm going to make a happy sequel. Yeah, it's going to be a whole new George. No more outraged
Plot
George.
twist?
This is going to be enraged George. Oh, wait, that still works.
Plot twist. I do have one thing that you will like.
Let's hear it. All right.
That I'm a little outraged about. So, to make this quick, where I grew up, there's a little hill. It's called Spanish Hill. And it looks like a hill that had its top chopped off. So, it looks like a mound that was built, and people wondered whether Native Americans built the mound, or more likely, people believe it's just plopped there with a glacier. And it's shaved off the top because it's got a totally flat
we're talking
top.
It's really big, like noticeable from a distance sort of hill? Or like,
But somehow I got on this YouTube video about it. And I'm sure you remember the story of in New York, some farmers buried a concrete giant and pretended to, like, they left it in the ground and then it was 1800s.
And the Cardiff Giant.
Yes.
It was...
they dig it up and like, hey...
It's actually a pretty cool story. The guy was trying to disprove the Bible.
Yes.
It was the whole thing. He was trying to, because there's a thing that Christians will adhere to There's a line, I think, in Genesis, in those days, giants walked the earth.
Right.
So this guy carved a giant statue, a supposed fossil of a like a 10-foot tall person.
Yes.
And buried it on a guy's land, and then got the preachers nearby to say it to Jeebus, and then he was like, "Fooled you."
Yes.
You can see the quote unquote original one. It's in where's the Baseball Hall of Fame?
That's in Cleveland, no, Ohio.
No, it's in New York.
No, George.
Yeah, it is. You're thinking the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's in Cleveland. Anyway, it's in the same town as that. I've seen it. You go in a little barn and there's this big statue of a guy, and it's like, yeah, I'm the Cardiff Giant. But anyway, go on, Tim. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes, you sidelined my story. Oddly enough,
I was giving valuable backstory to your story.
They have found like stuff made by Native Americans a lot around this hill. Anyway, this guy in the video is like, oh yeah, and back in the 1800s, they dug up a giant skeleton, and the skull had horns like antlers, and they had a picture of it. And they're like, this is the only known picture of it. And there's a skull with horns on it. And he goes, but like most giants they find, the Smithsonian comes around and take it away, and it disappears. That's
a whole thing. I know about this. The belief that giant skeletons exist all throughout the Americas of 10-foot tall, sometimes red-haired, often horned humanoids that the Smithsonian secrets away. Like, this shit has been so conclusively proven to be a scam by so many times, but you can still find it in the internet.
I found two more. Another video.
Believe in it.
Because the other man said, we can't go check out that hill. You're not allowed to. He just said that, but I know that people bought the land. It's their private property now. That's all.
Yeah, so that's why. But, Tim, were those people the government? Were they the Smithsonian?
Yes.
Because, the Smithsonian, what they want us to believe is that people don't get to be 10 foot tall and have antlers.
No, because they're trying to hide the Bible. That's what one of the videos explained.
They're trying to hide the Bible.
Hide that Christianity is real.
Yep. And also, they're trying to destroy the legend of Boggy Creek, which is about a big, tall humanoid.
Segue.
Whoa, that was a pretty sick segue. I didn't mean to do that. Just kind of.
You did too.
Tim, we're a well-oiled machine. SETI BIMCO, the most oily podcast there is.
I plan to talk about Mary Tyler Moore, and I was going to say, speaking of entertainers, for our younger audience, I was going to talk about Seinfeld. And I was going to say, George, Seinfeld left a giant footprint in the history of television, just like the star of our movie, who also left a big foot mark on Boggy Creek. Intro this movie. We're to it.
All right. So today's movie, it was my choice, and it's actually a sequel to a previous episode. Tim and I did the second movie in this illustrious series.
First.
Boggy Creek 2, The Legend Continues. And now, in a SETI BIMCO first, we actually plunked down a few precious dollars. Yeah, we actually rented this movie.
We're watching the first
to
one
watch
second.
The original. Yeah, we watched the first one second. The original 1972 docudrama that's in some circles credited with causing the Bigfoot craze that Tim and I have both ridden to the top of. The Legend of Boggy Creek. Yeah, and the entire movie, here's what you need to know about it. It's just like the second. It is the work of advertising salesperson / movie director Charles B. Pierce, who documented the quote unquote true story of the Arkansas's Fook monster, and just does a bunch of reenactments, sort of Blair Witch style, I guess, for the sake of this movie. It's treated very much like you're seeing a lot of the people in the movie are the actual people from the stories. We're telling stories about Weird Monkey Man in the Woods. They are not good actors. They reenact their encounters. Yes. There's a horrifying amount of violence visited upon pets in this movie. And
don't get to it. Don't get to it so quick.
I don't know. I mean, plots can be difficult here too because there weren't much of a plot. It was just like, this monster did this, and then the monster did this, and then this.
Well, I want to point out Jamie Mendoza Nava. He did the music, and he also did the music to 5 Minutes to Love. I
no,
a show.
Wait, really? About. Previous SETI BIMCO episode.
Mm-hmm.
The famous hand grenade episode, as I like to call it. The episode that our illustrious co-host John Kelly chose, made us all watch, and then dipped out. made Tim and I suffer through that one alone. Hi, John. Hope you're doing good.
Hi, John. He wrote the song "Nobody Sees the Flowers But Me." Hey, Travis Crabtree.
No, he wrote that?
Yes.
I thought I read that Charles B. Pierce did the music, but this is interesting.
Well, I have him listed as doing music for the film, but who knows? Someone else, they could have, I don't know. Maybe he just did incidental music.
Maybe, but you need to...
My research
is
flawed,
when we get to
George.
that point, I want you to go in depth on the Travis Crabtree song, because I couldn't believe what was happening during that. That was, in a movie full of reenacted Sasquatch encounters, that was the most insane moment for me.
So, that song was popular. It was up there on up on the charts with Juicy Lucy's "Who Do You Love?"
Oh, another reference to Prosperity Bibco episode.
You don't have to explain.
Bread.
They got to go watch.
I do, because I want people to listen.
No.
Go listen to the Bread episode.
Don't listen.
Do it.
Bread is good. So, there's a lot of people that play themselves in this, George.
Most of them did, but...
Buddy Crabtree is played by James Crabtree.
What was that about?
Jeff Crabtree is played by Fred Crabtree.
Yeah, so...
J.E. Smokey Crabtree played himself.
This is funny. So when Charles B. Pierce did this, he filmed it mostly with people who lived in Fuke, Arkansas, and they played themselves. But there is this bewildering part where the Crabtree's family is, I'm not even really exaggerating here, I'd say like a full half of the encounters are the encounters that this one family, the Crabtrees, experiences. But like Tim points out, weirdly, when you check out the credits, they change their first names, a lot of them. So you're like, why? I think we can still figure out who you are. Your likeness is captured on film. All the people who go to town with you know you. I think if your name is really James and you call yourself Buddy, they're going to figure it out.
Yes. I'm glad you noticed that.
I thought that was hilarious. And so I mean, I guess I'll get into like the general plot as much as I can, and please jump in and save me.
Well, the plot at the beginning is just nice photography, I will say, of
it is
Arkansas.
Actually.
That's all.
And I'm also going to say something else kind of shocking.
Yeah.
I feel like this guy Charles B. Pierce is not without some talent.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's parts of this movie that are very amateurish, I suppose. But there and some parts of it I will actually put on to the backs of the fact that he's using like these random huckleberries he finds around the town as actors. But there's some parts I'm like, this guy's actually got a little bit of a style going on here. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It does open up with like 5 minutes straight. Like I kind of timed it of kind of beautiful like footage of like the wilds of Arkansas.
Yeah. Yep.
And animal noises. I don't think there's even music playing. I think it's just and it's kind of nice. You see alligators, which I was surprised by.
Yep. Alligators. Why? Do you thought it should be a crocodile?
No, I actually up until like I feel like I knew this at one point in my life, but then I forgot. But up until like earlier this year, I thought alligators only lived in Florida in this country. But apparently they live like all over the place.
Well, it's getting warmer, so yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is in the 70s, so but
it's a different time, George.
And then we
different
see
time.
after
Relax.
Different time. I'm not relaxing. You tell me what to do.
So it opens up with the old man. Are we going to do the old man?
We don't see the old man first. First, we see the little blonde boy running across the field.
Right. Sorry.
Do you recognize the little blonde boy?
It's young Travis Crabtree.
No,
I know.
Tim.
Who?
I have good news for you and listeners of our previous episode. This is a return of shirtless Tim.
That's him? Oh.
I looked him up on IMDb. So in Boggy Creek 2, this is the son of the director, Charles B. Pierce is the director. The son goes by Chuck Pierce Jr.
Yeah.
And he is the quote-unquote male sex symbol of Boggy Creek 2. He is spindly. He is near constantly shirtless. We have a lot of fun picking on this poor guy. And here we get a glimpse of him as a young boy. And he's very unrecognizable because A, he's only like 6 or 7 years old. Yeah. And B, he's wearing a shirt.
Right.
So his most familiar features are covered. But he's running across the field. He's all mop-headed and blonde and just running for his life. And he comes across 3 old men who all look like Skeletor with a hook nose.
I know.
They all look the same, too. Like I in a lineup, I couldn't tell those 3 guys apart.
They said, "Little boy, did you bring us our candy?" Is that what he said?
He might have, because instead the little boy, out of breath, obviously terrified, says, "Mom sent me. There's some sort of wild man in the woods." And Hook-Nosed Skeleton number one's like, "Your mom's great.
Give me my candy.
Give me a candy." Shakes him roughly. No.
He slaps his ear and he goes deaf in one ear.
And then he pulls the ear off, right? And he eats it. And he goes, "This will do for my gum."
Wrong movie.
He spits it into the tip. No. Oh, okay.
Slaps his ear.
They
makes
just
him
mock
go deaf.
him.
Come on.
Yeah. What is that? Johnny Tremaine?
Wonderful Life. Oh, what did you?
Oh, hell, you're right. Oh, why'd you box my ears?
That's what I'm trying to get at. So anyway.
Wait, Tim.
What?
I'm going to interrupt. What would happen? How would the world be different if Charles B. Pierce never existed? Just like It's a Wonderful Life. Well, like the angel takes around. He's like, "Well, people don't like Bigfoot."
You're saying. I see. But
yeah.
He commits, you're saying suicide. So.
Well,
you made me jump there. You're saying
I don't know if that's
he takes the place of Jimmy Stewart.
Of George, whatever his name is in that.
George Bailey.
George Bailey. And so, like, he takes Charles B. Pierce around. He's like, "Well, I wish I'd never been born at all." And then he's like, "Well, in the 70s, people never got into Bigfoot. And instead, their love of Evel Knievel continued unabated into the modern day."
Who's talking to who?
I guess the angel is talking to the not born ghost of Charles B. Pierce. I don't know. Sometimes this is getting pretty heady. I don't know. I just wanted, so the opening scenario, this is the way I could figure it. Charles B. Pierce, who actually is the main character of Boggy Creek 2, he actually plays him like a doctor guy or something. He is a character in this movie, but he's not played by Charles B. Pierce.
Okay.
Basically, another man plays him as an adult and narrates these stories. His son, Chuck B. Pierce, plays him as a child, and that's what we learn here. That growing up in Fuke, Arkansas, his scared mom, thinking that the woods around their house were surrounded by giant Sasquatches, sent 6-year-old Charles B. Pierce Jr. to go run to get the trio of old men who hang out at the gas station. Like, how is that going to help, lady? If there is a giant carnivorous ape monster outside, aren't you sending your son to certain mutilation? I think she was trying to get rid of him.
Are these the old men I want to get to? Because I love these old men.
I know you would. Every time when I see like old corn-fed old man like this, I'm like, Tim is just chortling with glee.
Because in the second movie, we went into a gas station with old men. Remember? It started the same way.
Yep. I assumed it was the same men.
Yeah. These old men were sitting around talking about Lockhorn comics, George.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Of course.
I remember. And can we remind the viewers what Lockhorn comics are?
It's a married couple that hates each other.
Yes. Great old comic by Rob... Not Rob Reiner.
No, I didn't write his name down. Anyway, they're laughing about the hairy...
Bob Host?
But I remember the old men were laughing about the hairy man, right?
Yeah.
They're like, that's just a hippie. Because this takes place in 1972.
Yeah. It was released in 72, so it's...
when we say we see it...
It's safe to assume it was recorded in 70, like filmed in 71 or 70, pretty close to that 60s cutoff line of pure garbage.
So you young people, when me and George are like, "Oh, there's another dead hippie in the background," we're talking about people who are hitchhiking that time in history in America, because there's a lot of dead hippies in this movie, right, George?
Well, yes, and Tim.
Anyway,
I don't even think there was very many young people in this movie. Actually, there was. Yeah.
Oh, those old men are upset that Marmaduke got replaced with a new comic called Frank and Ernest. Sorry.
Is Frank and Ernest an actual comic?
It is. It's always bad.
I would have gone with Garfield.
That didn't premiere in 1972.
Oh, wow. You did your research. You actually placed comics. Was Marmaduke already a thing in 72?
Yeah, it was a thing.
Tim, when did Ziggy premiere?
I think 1978.
Oh, wow. Later than I thought.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what? You know what?
What?
The person who now draws Blondie is from the same town I'm from. That's weird.
Really?
Weird.
Tim, follow-up question.
Wild
is that
stuff.
Person you under a pseudonym?
No.
It seems unlikely to me that the little tiny town you grew up in created two comics artists. You and whoever draws Blondie. think they created one who does secret work.
The man who painted the cover of the original Outsiders novel. He's in my town.
3 now. It's getting more and more unlikely. Who else?
Let's move on. This is going nowhere.
All right, so then the movie, after we have the establishing bit where we see the young filmmaker who was sent out by his mom to get help from 3 old men and had to run through a gauntlet of fucking Sasquatch monsters. He lives because he's grown up now.
Yeah.
And he just tells us, we kind of dip into the rest of the movie up until
Different
mostly
stories.
the end is, little vignettes. There's a story of Willie E. Smith, whose dog gets thrown at him. That was kind of like, that was rough on the dog.
Yes.
It's like,
that was so rough on Willie E. Smith. He changed his name to Willie E. Crabtree. He couldn't take the shame.
Yes. There was
John L. Oakes.
It looks like I wrote John P. Hickson.
No, it's John L. Oakes. He went out.
No, that's a different guy. I have a guy in between this. The guy who shot at the Bigfoot.
Oh, I thought John L. Oakes shot at the Bigfoot.
He also shoots at him.
And he realizes, oh, it's a hippie.
Yeah, and he goes, oh, it's a hippie. And then he kind of kicks some dirt on him and shoves him under a bush.
It's our first dead hippie. Told you. He didn't believe me.
That's true. Wow, I wrote something here. It says John Oates, and it's like something... And
he saw it walking on 2
killed
legs.
by 2 prairie shorts. Looked like he was the guy. John Oates was the guy who looked like a hipster.
Oh, did he? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so he was interesting. So most of the people here are real like Song in the South sort of characters.
Yes.
Like they've never seen the light of like a northern sun.
Who we love.
And yeah, we love those people. Hi listeners. But they're like real kind of like if you were to like go to central casting and look for someone to be like, I need someone to play a corn-fed yokel, you would find these people. But this one guy, John P. Oates, he had like kind of thick glasses and kind of cool hair, and he was young. And I'm like, oh, this guy looks kind of like somebody I'd see in Brooklyn. But when he talked, he sounded like the oldest geezer. He's like, y'all. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I wrote notes about him. Looks like maybe he shot something. I don't remember what.
Well, he accidentally shot a hippie.
He shot a hippie. There was Fred Crabtree.
Fred Crabtree. Oh,
what was his real name again?
Bobby Joe Crabtree.
Bobby Joe Crabtree.
He thought it was a wild man or a hippie or maybe a member of Led Zeppelin. The creature was washing his feet in the water, so he thought it must be a hippie.
Yeah, he found the footprint, right?
Yes. 3 toes.
And there's James Crabtree, who is, I wrote down maybe his dad, but it turns out his uncle, but he also had a real different name, so who knows what he really was. He saw it through his gun stock and decided not to shoot it because he heard about the other guy shot the hippie. He's like, maybe I better not.
Now you're catching that.
Yep. Then there was, this one was interesting because this name really pops. After hearing all these variations on Crabtrees, we meet the Cersei family.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice that. I just called her Mary Beth Crabtree. But yeah, Cersei.
Yeah. Cersei.
She was reading a book. She was really into it.
Reading a book. She had it upside down.
What was it? I kept trying to see.
She is. It's upside down. It was Alice's Adventures Underground.
That's mean. I'm not trying to say she can't read. Just saying it's a pretty big book. You know, it's the Bible.
And she was in like all the men folk were out of town, and she was there with her sister who had just had a baby. And her sister was kind of laying there sideways on the bed with the baby and kept saying, Mary Beth, throw a sheet over the window or the baby will catch cold. Yeah. And Mary Beth's ignoring her because she's trying to figure out which way to turn the book so that those strange symbols on it make sense.
I'm at the part where the Bible would... Jesus talks about masturbation. I'll be there in a minute.
This is the good part. And she finally gets up and puts the sheet on there. And she looks out the window and starts screaming because she sees a blurry, indistinct shape that is, I guess, a Sasquatch.
Yeah, it was
and
weird.
They have their cat outside, and here's some horrible violence visited upon the cat. He's just flinging the cat about, I guess. Or no, actually, he doesn't.
No, we see.
You hear the cat making noise.
We cut to daylight after they're terrorized all night, and they show a close up of a dead cat.
And it's really a dead cat, I think.
Yeah, it was
I didn't like that. It looked like a real dead cat. I'm like, did Charles B. Pierce kill a cat? I mean. Tim, I have to bring this up.
What?
Every cat we saw in this movie...
It's dead now.
They're dead now. Every dog we saw in this movie is dead now.
Well, that cat could have
Every hippie we saw in this movie
is dead now.
It's dead now.
It was dead back then too in this movie.
It doesn't make it through the end of the movie. Yeah, the hippies just. This movie ends. It's a weird shot. It's just them throwing a bunch of hippie bodies in a big stack, and then Charles B. Pierce comes out of the woods, douses it in gasoline, and goes shh, lights it on fire, and disappears back into the muck.
Are you already doing your revenge sequel?
No, I guess that could have been though.
But their cat was scared to death. That's what they said.
Scared to death. Yeah, they said.
Nothing can scare a cat to death like that besides Old Man Crabtree's one-man vacuum circus. Anyway.
Tim, this was so perfect for you with like Old Man Crabtree. Like this is like such a Tim film. Let's see.
Dogs are chasing a deer in the woods. Is that what we're up to?
Yeah, there's a guy with some hunting dogs and they all disappear.
No. First there's like dogs barking at the deer, and the kid's like, I better go hunting. But he finds Bigfoot, that little kid.
Yeah, like he is also a Crabtree, is he not?
He's a Crabtree.
We did take a weird bit with him where we saw him he was like cooking eggs, right?
He was cooking eggs.
And those he's like little kids out and was like, that's little Billy Joe Crabtree doesn't like to eat with other boys. It was him in the woods cooking eggs. I don't know. That's how his dogs die.
That's how you made breakfast back then, George. Didn't have Fruit Loops.
Wait, you didn't?
Not in folk. I didn't have them. I was not allowed to have sugar cereal. So if I went to a friend's house, I just like, give me another bowl.
Oh, wait, you weren't. Hold on, Tim.
Nope.
You weren't allowed to have sugary cereals, but if your parents weren't there,
no. If
you were under the care of another adult, you would lie to them and say you could have it?
No, I went to a friend's to like stay overnight, and they'd have it all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Why didn't you say, like, excuse me, I'm not allowed to have sugary cereals. Can you make me some eggs?
I said, I never get to have these. Can I have the prize? I don't know.
And what'd they say? What did they say to that? And then you'd eat the prize because you didn't understand how it worked because you never had it. You're like,
it's going nowhere. Please make me some.
All right, there is a song that happens here.
It's the one. It's nobody.
There's a song before the Travis Crabtree, and did you write it down?
Well, wait. Before the song, they do bring all the dogs out to chase Bigfoot, and then people on horses. Yeah. Remember that? Like they call everybody's got dogs, and the dogs are too afraid to chase Bigfoot.
Oh, they're supposed to be these great hunting dogs.
They're so coward. Their dogs were cowards.
And it was supposed to be something happening now. Like the film director speaks up. He's like, I was lucky enough to be brought along in this adventure. Mm-hmm. And these famous guys with their famous hunting dogs. One of these guys is smoking the biggest, most comical stogie. I'm like, all right, you have these famous hunting dogs because their sense of smell. Yes. You're trying to get them and you're smoking the stinkiest thing in the world.
Right.
Also, I don't think those are great hunting dogs.
No.
I mean, they were like just kind of like one of them, unfortunately, like, you know, like when a dog has just had puppies and she's kind of like ruined for a little bit. Yeah. There was one of the dogs just like, she's like, I just dropped a litter. Can I please just sit down? I'm like, why are we doing this to this dog? For the silly Bigfoot movie?
Yes.
Someone give that dog a bone and like a nice cushion to lay down on.
Yes, but those owners were embarrassed. So embarrassed.
They were very embarrassed, as we were told.
To nearby Baggy Creek. They changed their names to like Bob Crabtree, and Steve changed his name to Eddie Crabtree.
Oh my God, Tim, is that the reason why were they Crabtrees? And they were like, I have to hide my secret shame.
Yes. Their one dog used to be named Stevie. They changed his name to Crabtree. Anyway.
So at some point, music plays. These are good jokes, Tim. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There's a song that was like, "This is what the sky plays." Does that sound like something? Man, my writing is so bad on this one. And so normally, folks, I watch these. Tim gets mad at me. I will sometimes watch these movies literally minutes before we record.
Right.
I watched this a while ago because I had the full intention of recording this. So I can't read my fucking notes. My handwriting it might as well be written in another language.
Yes, there is another song. I only wrote down Nobody Sees the Flowers But Me. Hey, Travis Crabtree. But there is another song, I know.
There was another song that was really ridiculous, and I was so delighted it came on. But then almost immediately the Hey Travis Crabtree song plays, and then I was flabbergasted. Can you talk us through that part?
This song is about how many years passed as the creature lived alone. The song says, "This is where the creature goes." That's the song. This is where the creature goes. Teens like to go camping. They no longer worry about Bigfoot or hippies in the woods. Travis Crabtree song. About Travis Crabtree went to visit Herb Jones, who lived in a hut made of cereal boxes in the woods. And I'm not exaggerating if he says. Remember the old man who lived in the woods?
Can I talk about Herb Jones? Because he's actually kind of important to me.
He's not a Crabtree.
He's not a Crabtree. His face is the epitome of crag.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this guy's just wrinkles. But my favorite bit about him is they mentioned just like the guy's just giving a sketch of this real person who plays himself, Herb Jones, in the movie. Herb Jones shot off most of his foot in a boating accident and dragged himself out of the swamp to help. And I'm like, what sort of boating accident involves shooting your own foot off? Like, what sort of boating was he doing?
Well, later he got his hand cut off by a boat propeller in a skiing accident. I don't know if you heard about that.
Wow. And then, what's a good ski tip injury? Then he got snow blindness while hiking through the desert. He's always one thing behind. It's so weird. Also, what was weird about this guy? Like, so Travis Crabtree, we actually didn't mention this. Travis Crabtree is like maybe 16 years old.
Yeah.
He's part of the Crabtree clan. He gets his own song, Hey Travis Crabtree. Yes. I found a post from 2012 on LiveJournal called Travis Crabtree Today, where somebody found the original Travis Crabtree and stuff.
Oh, my God.
It's pretty exciting.
You have to send that to me.
But he's just like, he's out. Maybe he's the one cooking eggs. They see him in the woods.
Yeah,
he's like,
I think
hey, Travis Crabtree, you do stuff and you eat eggs and you're alone in the woods.
Wait a minute for me. Let's go back in the bottom. Back where the fish are biting.
He wears a dumb hat.
Yes.
His best friend that he sometimes bikes to, like, takes the boat to see is Herb Jones. Like, it's impossible to know who Herb Jones is because he's only wrinkles, but he's probably only like 40. Who lives in a house of cereal boxes and has half of his foot missing because of a boating accident.
Somebody brings him liquor once a week.
Brings him liquor. They mention that, don't they? He brings him liquor. An underage child ferries liquor to this man with no foot living in a swamp, or half a foot. Yes. And none of that goes anywhere. We get the song of Travis Crabtree. I figure they're setting up for a big Travis Crabtree sighting with Herb Jones.
No, Herb Jones.
But instead we get a close-up of Herb Jones. He says there's no such thing.
But he said he saw the creature, I thought. He said.
I thought it was, maybe I zoned out, but it was just him in
there's
silhouette.
No such thing, and then he started drinking the liquor, and then he's like.
And he's like, there's pink elephants, though. Yes. They're everywhere. Spiders all over. It was weird. It's just him saying there's no such monster. I'm like, shouldn't you be hanging with the Skeletors up front?
Yeah. I thought he was saying he was angry because he saw dead animals in the woods that had been scared to death by the monster, like Billy's goldfish and just Crabtree's pet hamster. I worked hard. I worked hard on these jokes.
These are good jokes. What other monsters did they say?
That's it. Then they do this weird thing where they like talk about how Bigfoot could be an ape, and they show us a picture of an ape, and I'm like, yeah, get on with it.
Like, you're like, keep your science in your pants.
I know.
Well, that is actually a part I wanted to bring up because I didn't record where exactly this comes up, but there is a part where they interview a farmer who has found footprints in the mud near the creek, the titular creek, and they are 3 toes.
Yep.
And this is the part you're talking about with the apes. And I read the scene this way, Tim. I want to see if you agree with me. The farmer is pretty keen on the idea of saying this is a monkey because the farmer definitely put these footprints there, but he made 3-toed footprints.
You suspect the farmer?
Yeah. In this instance of this, I do, because he's like, I think it's a gorilla. And the guy who came to look at it's like, well, gorillas don't have 3 toes. There's no 3-toed primates. And the farmer's like, oh. Like, he realized he fucked up. Like, when he made the foot, he's like, fuck.
That's your theory?
I gave it only 3 toes. He's like, well, I think I saw it was like orange. Maybe it's one of them was orangutans. He's like, no, they don't got 3 toes either. He's like, So, like, this guy, like that's a problem. There's no 3-toed mammals, I don't think, even. Like, that's kind of a lizard thing or a bird
see the guy
thing.
that comes home late at night and his wife's like, where have you been? And he goes, I was at my company's Christmas picnic. And she's like, well, it's the 4th of July. And he just goes, Oh.
He's like, shot off half my foot in a boating accident while I was there. Then he goes, look behind you, a 3-toed monster. And he jumps out the window. So I read that as like this great evidence of the monster with the 3-toed footprints. The one guy who showed up to look at it was pretty skeptical. Like, yeah, it's got 3 toes. And the dude who planted it was like, Probably should have done 5 toes. But yeah, and then if my notes are correct and my memories are correct,
okay,
the rest of the movie is mostly concerned with this one big encounter.
Well, you're missing it. Betsy Smith Crabtree's kids came and got her. This is a funny part because they come screaming.
Oh, I missed this.
Remember, they go in the house. They're like, Mommy, come, it's a monster. They run all the way across the field, drag their mom. There is a monster, so they all scream.
Oh, you're right.
And run back to the house again.
and if unless I'm mistaken, and I did watch it twice, I'm pretty sure the mom is yelling, don't run the whole time. And I don't know if that is because she's using like the kind of logic, like don't run from a bear, play dead. Yes. Or if it's just like she's just being a mom, like, stop your running.
Well,
she ran like an idiot.
I know. In folk, you're taught not to run from cats and not to run from those 3 old men who sit at the coffee shop.
Because they'll make fun of you and make fun of your ma for seeing wild men in the woods. That part was funny. This woman, she's wearing a big red sweater in the middle of the woods. The kids were like, yeah, it's a monster. It was. They all ran. She yells not to run.
And then there's 3 girls. Yeah, we go on through a few more stories. There's 3 girls.
Oh, you're right. There's the 3 girls having the night out. That part
I wrote down having a pillow party. I don't know what they're doing.
What is a pillow party?
I don't know. I thought that's what they said. 3 girls.
Why'd you write that down?
3 girls having a pillow party.
That sounds weird. I think that sounds dirty.
That's what girls do. They have pillow parties.
Writers, listeners, if you know what a pillow party is, please write in. SETI BIMCO with an E at the end. Tell us what a pillow party is. I think it's dirty.
It's not. But they hear a strange creature around their trailer they live in. Not knocking trailers. I'm just saying they live in a trailer. So
it was actually a very nice trailer. Yes. I had no idea it was a trailer until she says, go look out the trailer window.
It was such a fancy trailer. The TV was on top of the refrigerator. Did you notice that? You did not notice that? It was bugged me. No. Who watches TV and they put it on top of the refrigerator?
Isn't that like a Jeff Foxworthy joke?
I don't know.
You might be a redneck if your TV's on top of a refrigerator. What happens to the 3 girls? Is that the one where the hand comes in the window?
I forget, but they do the classic thing where they get the gun out and they drop the bullets all over the floor, even though they seem to know how to use a gun.
There is, now that you mention it, Tim, there is that little hint of the misogyny that we saw running rampant in the sequel. Mm-hmm. There's a few lines where just like where women are left home alone and the ape monster shows up and they're like, they had to wait for the men to come. They did. And that was definitely a case of that.
They did that a lot in this movie. Because then we switched to Bobby and Elizabeth Ford, obviously from out of town, and Charlie, 2 couples with their kids.
Swingers.
Swingers. They share a house to save money. I do that in quotes. Mm-hmm. Save money.
1 bedroom.
It seems like it, or on the floor.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing.
Yeah.
When we see Bigfoot movies, we usually see lots of outhouses, but this movie had no outhouses. We've had so many outhouses in movies Tim. We've watched on this show.
Boggy Creek 2 has that great outhouse scene where the fucking retired lawyer who shits in an outhouse and wipes his ass with Sears Roebuck in like 1980.
And he's the attorney.
He's the attorney, jumps in the outhouse to escape the monster.
So
he's not in this one.
I have 3 reasons why folk.
Oh,
you say it folk?
Fook.
Well, 3 reasons why Fook, Arkansas did not have outhouses in this movie. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Let's hear him, Tim.
In 1967, too many people in Fook were catching herpes from the outhouse toilet seats, and thus they ran many of them out of town. Many of these outhouses. They ran them out of town on a rail.
They were living people.
Number 2, don't ask too many questions.
Okay.
Number 2, in 1970, Outhouse Fest 70 was canceled because during the 1969 Outhouse Fest, 7 people shot their hands off during the outhouse painting contest. That's number 2.
Not the boating accident.
No.
That's good.
Outhouses in the water? Come on. George. And the third and final nail in the coffin. In 1971, Eddie Crabtree, formerly Bobby John Crabtree, drove to the big town of Texarkana to buy new paint supplies for Outhouse Fest 1971. But alas, he came back to Fook with nothing but a bad case of herpes. So,
wow, that was all good. It all tied back in together.
It all tied back to herpes.
So I have a follow-up question that I'm just going to ask you to answer extemporaneously.
Okay.
Given the complete lack of outhouse technology seen in this movie, Are the people of Fook, are they experiencing a boom in indoor plumbing, or are they just shitting in the woods?
Mm-hmm. I think there's a boom in indoor plumbing.
Good for them.
The Crabtree Plumbing Company of Fook.
Oh, it's a fucking conspiracy.
Well, they're trying to drive the other Crabtree Plumbing Company.
This was all a Crabtree plot.
Fook.
That's why they changed their name, so as to seem like not connected. They just didn't do it well.
Yep.
So this section that Tim was talking about, Bobby Ford and the the swinger families.
Swingers.
Hipster was earlier. This is pretty much like almost like a mini movie inside a movie. This is the longest extended sequence we got. And this is a part where I'm actually going to say Charles B. Pierce is dead. But I know his daughter owns the rights. Mm-hmm. So if she's listening, I'll say, this is where I actually give the guy some credit. Like, this was actually well shot.
Yes, I remember it from a kid. I saw shots and I was like, oh,
yeah, I think this is the part people think of when they think of this movie.
Yes. Yeah, it's just a long story of Bigfoot trying to get in the house. He walks up on the porch. He knows to turn the doorknob.
Yeah, that was weird.
And the famous scene where a guy's using the toilet. And does Bigfoot reach through the window or he just looks through the window? I forget.
There's definitely a scene where in this movie where like a Bigfoot hand comes in. Yes. I thought maybe it was with the three girls, but you're right. It might be here.
I think
a lot of very tight close-ups on actors' faces as they hear stuff walking around. It was, I mean, this isn't like revolutionary filmmaking, but some of the garbage we've seen on this, they don't know how to do that stuff. Like Charles Pierce, like he spent some time thinking about this. He framed it well. They, the two men folk grab gun. Well, one grabs a gun, one grabs a flashlight.
Well, the actor said this is where the misogyny starts because they're home alone, the girls, and they're like, "We got to call Mr. Johnson P. Crabtree." He comes by and he looks around with his gun. He says, "Nothing to be scared of. I ain't seen nothing out there, except some Sasquatch." I forgot
the landlord. He actually literally does that.
Yep. Ain't seen nothing but a dead cat, maybe a dead goldfish, but nothing else. Maybe some Playboy magazines.
I'll take these with me.
Some Bazooka Joe wrappers, a couple of frogs. Confederate flag, Ku Klux Klan
Good
membership.
Spot where an outhouse could
roaster. Be. Yeah. Another Confederate flag. Anyway. Comic books.
They wouldn't call it a Confederate flag, though. They'd call it something better. Right?
Yeah.
They'd like it. They'd be like, our real flag.
Dreamcatcher.
Everyone
sleeps in this house with their lights on.
Yep.
And
the menfolk come home. I don't remember the kids being involved at all. Did they just throw the kids in the woods? Just like in the beginning?
Kid was, well, an older kid, a teenage kid. He was sleeping on the floor. He was helping out. But yeah, there were two smaller kids I lost track of. But there was a teenage kid. I remember him. Oh, he was out on the porch.
Yeah. Okay. They are firing at the monster. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit more horror movie-ish than anything we've seen up until this point. It's a little bit more of a sustained narrative. It's supposed to just being like, here's a guy in a Bigfoot costume shaking a rubber dog and then throwing it at somebody. We see like kind of mounting scenes of terror, but it just kind of, because this is all based on like quote unquote actual accounts. And I will say it does seem like Charles Pierce was very interested in being very true to those accounts.
Yeah.
Nothing really particularly happens.
No.
It just kind of fizzles out because if anything really happened, this would be the most famous story in the world. And we'd all be like, wow, remember how the world discovered Bigfoot was real?
Yeah.
So they kind of maybe...
sheriff's like, there's a panther living under your house.
Oh, I forgot the part. Yeah, and there was a panther.
And some hippies are living under here.
We shot the hippies, though.
There's a dead hippie out there. I was just going to say, there's more dead hippies.
I'm not dead yet. And pow, and he's dead now. Actually, I do want to address that. That is funny that they brought in the panther part, right?
Well, there is...
Because...
Oh, yeah.
Like, if this is, like, let's assume this is a real account, which apparently it is. Isn't it make sense to assume that it was this scary creature that was outside that was making weird noises and shit was just the panther?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's still plenty scary. Yes. Like, I would lose... my girlfriend and I were, where were we, in California? And we were, like, up in the mountains in a car, and a panther crossed in front of us. Wow. It was terrifying.
You were in a car.
Even so, in a car, it was still like just that you don't see something you're expecting. Yeah. We could actually even smell it.
Ooh.
There was a really rank smell.
Cool.
It was very, very terrifying.
Wow.
And if I was in a house and there was a panther outside, that would be the story. You would meet me at a party, not knowing like, hey, I'm George. Years ago, I was at this house. There was a panther under it. It was scary. That would be like how I'd lead off every conversation.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know. You just don't need to be a Bigfoot, as I'm saying. A three-toed Bigfoot.
Just say it's Bigfoot. It stunk. It scared you.
It stunk. Wait, Tim. It could have. Let me rewind this. Put this text in. My girlfriend and I, a bunch of years ago, I think we were in California. We drove across the road, saw Bigfoot. I jumped out. I punched it in its nuts.
The end. All right. Well, something does happen here. Bobby does fight with the Sasquatch over the gun, and he goes into shock. Take him to the hospital. The end.
Right? Yeah. That is a pretty great scene where like he just kind of shook like a rag doll. We kind of see he's not the only person going into shock. Like some of the girls, like people go into shock a lot seeing this monster. It's become catatonic. Yes. They take him to the hospital. He wakes up. Yeah, that's the end.
He says, give me hamburger.
And then they shoot at him.
From Jimmy Crabtree's hamburger Crabtree hut.
Wait a second. What? So Jimmy Crabtree has a hamburger hut. He also has a market on the indoor plumbing boom that's happening in Fuke, Arkansas. He also, if I understood your stories correctly, he previously had some sort of lead on the outhouse construction business.
Yes, he did.
Are the Crabtrees like? Do they control everything that happens in Fuke?
Of course.
Okay, this paints all these strange occurrences in a startling.
I think you're setting up a
illuminating. No, I'm not at all. I have a different story.
I wrote down the song is by Jimmy Collins. So I don't know.
Is that a person that's famous?
I just wrote that down in my notes. Song by Jimmy Collins. That's what I'm telling you.
We don't know.
He wrote the theme to Jimmy's
Jimmy
Place
Collins.
in 1970s. In the 1970s TV show, Jimmy's Place. You like that one?
Yeah. That was starring Red Fox, right?
No, that was Sanford and Son.
And Grey Wolf.
Jimmy's Place was about a local police station.
Wait, is this true?
Yeah. We're done talking about this movie, are we?
I guess.
How many dead hippies?
I have one last thing I actually want to say about this.
Okay.
Dead hippies, by my reckoning, 16 dead hippies. What was your count?
14.
14. I was kind of stunned that we didn't see more of the Bigfoot clearly. I thought there would be a big reveal. But what we can see of the Fuke monster, the Boggy Creek creature, whatever you want to call it, the costume is nowhere near as good as the one in Boggy Creek 2.
Yeah.
Boggy Creek 2 goes in. We've watched a lot of Bigfoot related movies in this. Definitely had the best Bigfoot costume we've seen.
Up their game.
Yeah.
I think they skinned a real Sasquatch to use as the costume.
It was Travis Crabtree all along. Tim, what did you like better, this or Boggy Creek 2? The legend continues.
Oh, this one. Yeah, the original.
Really?
Yeah.
Boggy Creek 2 had that pretty cool scene of the guys watching his female student undress in the window. And just goes, that was pretty cool, yikes. Charles Pierce.
But it was still, it wasn't, I don't know. This one was more sincere and funny in sincere ways that I know they didn't mean to be funny, but don't know what he was trying to do with the second movie. There was a lot of bad, ridiculous stuff in the second movie.
Yeah, and like I think I mentioned this in the recording that I think anytime he's recounting the stories of the monster, he tries to keep it rooted in reality. Although that one reveals the monster has a kid that's being kidnapped by that like shoeless hillbilly. But up until that part,
Mr. Crenshaw,
the stories were much Mr. Crenshaw. You're right. The stories were much leaner. There was the insane outhouse story we mentioned earlier. There was the story of the guy whose car breaks down and disappears, and he's like, "Bigfoot got him." We're like, "How do you know that?"
So should we?
But that movie had Tanya.
Yep.
So that movie's inherently better. Tanya.
Wrong movie.
Tanya and Shirtless Tim. Right there. Boggy Creek 2's better.
We should do Revenge.
Let's do Revenge.
Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Revenge.
I'll get
Revenge.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
So who from this movie would get a star on the Walk of Fame? Wow. I didn't even think about it, George. Didn't think about it the whole time.
I didn't either. God, it's really hard because there's not a lot of recurring characters.
There's
I'm going to say Shirtless Tim. And the reason why I'm pretty sure, the only person involved in this movie who appeared in more than one film. So Shirtless Tim comes running into our hearts.
That's not a story.
On the screen of Boggy Creek 2. He's a little toe-headed boy running across the field sent out to face the fierce ape monsters so he could run to the 3 old men and be like, my mom's being terrorized by a wild man in the woods. And they're like, go home, dummy. Give us your cigarettes. But for some people, that would be the end of the story. But shirtless Tim, he was like, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be shirtless. I'm going to be completely hairless. He grew up. He took off that shirt. He never put that shirt back on. Wouldn't you know it? He had a starring role in Boggy Creek 2. The legend continues.
That's how he got his foot on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah. Well, people paid attention to this young whippersnapper. Who do you think did?
What was that farmer who wanted to believe in apes? What was his name? Does it matter? Farmer Crabtree?
Oh, no, I don't know his name, but
Farmer Crabtree who put the 3-toed footprint in the mud. He goes on a mission out to L.A. because he's a big fan of George Burns. And he makes the George Burns foot. And he sneaks over there at night and puts some concrete down and puts... Oh,
he goes like Grumman's Chinese Theater?
Yes, Grumman's Chinese... Well, this is the Star of Fame, right? That's what I'm saying.
No, those are two different things, actually.
On the Walk of Fame?
The Walk of Fame is like actually like little... It's like the pavement, and they actually embed little gold stars there with the person's name.
But they put their feet in.
Grumman's Chinese Theater is... Okay. It's actually a spot.
George?
Yeah.
Farmer Crabtree, he don't know much. So he goes to
I reckon
Grumman's Theater where he reckons that's the Walk of Fame.
Okay.
Even though people put their footprints over in Grumman's Theater.
Yep. There's no room, so he sees a big hunk of stick.
Anyway.
He pulls out one that says, Spencer Tracy, who's that? He shatters it.
No, he makes a fake footprint for George Burns because he loves George Burns.
George Burns.
He sticks around.
Why does he love George Burns so much?
He loves him, but he loves his comedy. And the next day...
Because of Oh God, right?
When it hardens, yes.
What hardens?
The footprint. He waits around so people come and see it and be like, ooh, George Burns, his footprint. But when people come around, they're like, don't you know nothing? George Burns got 4 toes, not 5 toes. And he's He walks away.
Confound it, and he walks into the ocean.
No, he's the one that just says,
That was...
and walks away.
Really should get around to counting toes one of these days. But, I only know how to count up to 4. Let's do Revenge sequel. I'll go first.
Okay, you do your monkey with the man with the yellow hat.
Yep, so this is a tricky one because, as you people know, because you're all devout listeners of our program, we've already done the sequel. There was a sequel.
Start the music?
Boggy Creek 2, The Legend Continues. Music's already started, Tim. But there is a kind of weird history, and this is actually true. There is a movie called Return to Boggy Creek, which stars Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a weird sequel. There's these movies branch off from different ways. So this is think of just an alternately branching sequel.
There's really, really good ones, but the Smithsonian came and took them and they disappeared.
And it's true. And they grabbed the real Fuka monster shh, people can't know about that.
Sorry.
It's against our mission. So we're actually going to revisit again with our friend Herb Jones.
Love her.
Herb Jones was Travis Crabtree's best friend. Herb Jones was a human wrinkle. He was the man who, if you recall, lost a portion of his foot in blowing it off with a gun in a boating accident. That ended Herb Jones' illustrious boating/shooting career, and he lived in a house made of cereal boxes in the deep swamp. But he was angry, as it turns out. He harbored a grudge about this. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just the fact that he felt it was unfair. Here's the thing he was really mad at. There was another farmer. Let's call him Farmer Crabtree.
Right.
Farmer Crabtree, when he was boating that day, it was Farmer Crabtree's job to hand him his gun-shooting gun.
Mm-hmm. It's gun-shooting gun?
When he handed it to him, it was gun-shooting gun. Because that's when you're boating, you got to have a gun to shoot other guns. Okay. You see how this works, Tim? I don't want to explain the
not one to shoot fish?
No, that's the gun. The other guns are to shoot fish. But you go out and you boat and you shoot the guns out of other fishermen's hands.
Okay.
Because you want all the fish yourself. Do you get it now?
I think I get it.
Yeah, so Farmer Crabtree handed Herb Jones. Farmer Crabtree, of course, was Travis Crabtree's uncle. He hands Herb Jones the gun. The gun was loaded improperly. Herb Jones blows off 2 of his toes on each foot.
Ooh. He was standing on top of the other foot?
No, it was kind of like right in the middle. Like blew up the big toe and like the second biggest toe.
This sounds like
so
a
all
conspiracy. There must have been a second shooter. Anyway,
maybe there was a second shooter. He was in a grassy knoll, which is weird. Also,
Yes.
It's like, how are you boating there? Farmer Crabtree sees this, goes, "Oh shit!" He jumps off and swims away, leaving Herb Jones to drag himself out of the swamp to safety. Where he goes to the hospital. He don't like going to the hospital. The people there, they don't live in the swamp. It's weird. But he eventually recovers. He decides he needs to take revenge on Farmer Crabtree. First, by befriending his grandson Travis and making him complicit in smuggling liquor as an underage boy to a man living in the woods. But then, because shoes no longer fit him, now he's only got 3 toes, Herb Jones would go traipsing through the swamp, come onto Farmer Crabtree's land, and dress up as an orangutan and a gorilla and other creatures to kind of play and mess with his mind, to kind of cost him his very sanity.
Gotcha.
And this was the footsteps that Farmer Crabtree finds, these 3-toed footsteps. They were Herb Jones.
Ooh.
His foot maimed
right.
after his boating accident.
Plot
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah, it's a total play. It all comes together. It's like Shyamalan,
M. Night
man.
Shyamalan O'Connor.
M. Night Shyamalan O'Connor is me. And it doesn't really work because he just kind of is like, oh, that's weird. Figured it was a monkey. And he instead, but inspired by monkeys, this is where Herb Jones gets his revenge.
Okay.
Farmer Crabtree is so inspired by monkeys that he buys himself a yellow hat, buys himself a yellow suit. He goes to Africa. He kidnaps a young chimpanzee. He names that fucking thing George.
He's very curious.
Yeah.
Monkey gets addicted
This monkey's very
ether.
curious. And methamphetamines. They do a whole bunch of fucking books about it. Farmer Crabtree is the man with the yellow hat. So the revenge, it kind of like I said, I'm not really a revenge guy anymore.
Oh.
I'm just saying Herb Jones with his maimed foot is the Fook monster.
I like
The
it.
end.
I like it.
Yeah, it was great. It was the best episode ever.
It was.
Yeah.
Especially the gun shooting game where you shoot guns out of each other's hands.
No, you shoot guns out of the hands of people who are shooting fish. She's like, them's my perch.
I see.
And you shoot them. Yeah.
This game has many levels.
Now,
It's like
if there were
three-dimensional
hippies, it is like Picard couldn't do this. If it was hippies, you don't shoot the guns out of their hands. You just shoot them. Then you put them in the stack.
Yeah.
What's your revenge story? I'm going to take notes because I got questions.
So I think
right.
I only mentioned this a little bit, but at the end of the movie, when this family fled the house, they said something like, "We never knew why they wanted to get in the house," because that was mainly why Bigfoot was harassing them. He was always trying to open the door, stick his hand in the window.
You're right, yeah.
And they're like, "We never."
Because he was actually a panther, maybe.
Yeah, never knew why he always wanted to get in that house. So my movie addresses that question.
Oh.
Nobody knew why Bigfoot wanted into the house. Well, I just said this explains it. You see, it was because the teen kid, because there was like a kid like 13,
Okay.
he was giving underpants to the creature. The creature loved sniffing underpants, and the kid realized it and lured him close to the house as he wanted to catch a good glimpse of him.
Why would the kid do that?
Because he wanted to lure him to the house to get a good look at him.
How did the kid know he liked sniffing underpants?
He caught him sniffing on the line one day.
Tim!
What?
That's what was happening when the kids go out that one time in the
Yes.
earlier encounter. They bring their mom.
I know.
He was at the laundry line. He's going,
I know.
sniffing them underpants. Wow.
Correct.
Okay, go on.
But soon, all the adults in the house wondered where all the underpants were as they shared all the underwear. They were swingers. And it caused a
that's
big
true.
fight with both families. They accused each other of stealing accused each other of stealing each other's underpants.
Oh, that's bad. That's unfortunate for a swinging lifestyle.
But Bigfoot kept coming for more underpants that were denied him because, the kid was like, I can't do this anymore. Everybody's getting in trouble. Everybody's getting mad at each other. But Bigfoot was addicted and he wanted to get in those house to get those tidy whities. So that's why he was trying to get in the house. So
Tidy whities specifically.
thus, when they moved away, all the way to Baggy Creek in the next town over,
Oh.
the creature followed them. He wanted revenge on that kid for showing him the pleasure that was sniffing underwear and then taking it away from him. Yes?
Is Baggy Creek thusly named because that's where the idea of wearing baggy pants that hung down around your knees originated?
No.
So people would have their tidy whities exposed to air, and then the Bigfoot's like, I'm in Nirvana.
Don't get ahead of the story.
I got excited.
The creature followed them there. He followed the teens' scent to Baggy Creek. And he wanted revenge on him, as I said, denying him that pleasure now. So Sasquatch followed them to that town of Baggy Creek and started sneaking into the basement of the new house because this new family shared a house that had laundry in the basement. And he stole the young teen's underwear to get revenge on him. I just realized that sounds weird. Just now. Anyway. And in a twist, Sasquatch started wearing the kid's underwear just to annoy the young teen. And thus, when people took pictures of Sasquatch, they could see the kid's name, which was Ulster Unger. And it had his name on there.
Ulster Unger.
Ulster.
Not a Crabtree.
Ulster Unger's underwear.
I feel like there's a Joker sitting up there.
And they were baggy on Bigfoot.
Wait, thus, the underwear was baggy on...
because he'd stretched it out so much.
I would assume it'd be the... Oh, he blew out the elastic band.
Thus, the creature was known as the creature of Baggy Creek. Boom. On top of that, people started making fun of young Ulster and chanted, I said this, Ulster Unger's underwear. And so Ulster Unger ran away to the big city of Texarkana, and he worked for an elevator company that built elevators that went up 4 stories. Unger was just an intern at a teen in the office on the 4th floor when he started, and he was on the fast track to being an elevator button polisher. But one day, there was a film of the Baggy Creek monster, and a photo you could see that he was wearing underpants that said Ulster Unger's upright underwear. Sometimes he had underwear that he wore when he didn't walk upright.
Oh, I thought it was like the underwear was upright, like it had become so encrusted with filth that it just stayed rigid. Okay.
So it was on the news, and Ulster Unger no longer got the respect he needed at the elevator company. So he got his gun and went out to Boggy Creek to look for the creature and stop him from wearing his underpants. He also changed his name, like most people do in this town. It was Crabtree for a while after he stopped being Ulster Unger. And then it was Crabtree again. And then he changed it to Crabtree. But he lived out there in the woods for years, and the creature would come from time to time and steal his underwear off the clothesline until Ulster Unger only had 1 pair left, and he was an adult. This was years later. And the current name he had with no underwear was Crenshaw.
Was it Crabtree?
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw!
He became Old Man Crenshaw wearing that
Old Man Crenshaw!
That underwear strap on his head, because that's all he had left.
Now, folks, this is a reference to Boggy Creek too, where the old man wore like, it was an underwear strap on his head. Yeah. It was unforgivable.
So,
wow!
He spent many hard years out there in the swamp and became Old Man Crenshaw, who we see in the sequel, Boggy Creek 2. The legend continues. So, that's my prequel sequel to set you up for the next movie, like Star Wars.
I like that both of our revenge sequences kind of wove into the rich narrative of the movies.
And the Crabtrees.
Kind of like, that's it shows you, it's a real testament to how well crafted and timeless these films are.
So Universal should do a Boggy Creek universe. Never mind the monster universe. Universal.
Yeah, fuck that.
Universal.
MCU, just go take a dive. Like, we're going to do this now. It's going to be the Boggy Creek. Actually, I feel like, Tim, there really is there's a Boggy Creek TV series.
There is?
There's like, yeah, there's been multiple documentaries. There's a lot of stuff. Like Boggy Creek is already, it's a thing.
Yeah, we could sell lots of shirtless Tim dolls. Action figures.
Man, you get to save. Yeah, you save money. No, you don't have to make shirts.
True.
Yeah.
Well, that's that.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh, now we got to talk about Seinfeld to edit it back into the beginning.
Okay, yeah, say something about Seinfeld.
It's crazy what that time Kramer's face got all leathery because he smoked all the time. Remember that? No.
I think that was like the first episode of Seinfeld, Tim. Like, I think he starts off as a leathery guy. Oh, did we get any mail?
Wait, let me look now. Oh, got a whole bunch of angry emails I got to address. Last week I said
really?
Stuart Copeland's father was a spy, and for some reason you said, for what country? I was like, well, they're British. Britain, of course, you stupid idiot. And I looked it up, and he was born in Virginia. His dad was a CIA agent. Stuart Copeland.
What?
I forgot. So, sorry, all you people that wrote in angry. They are correct.
Thank you, all you listeners who wrote in.
Your police facts.
So does Stuart Copeland have an American accent?
No, he doesn't sound super British.
Does Sting have an American accent?
I don't think so.
Is Sting a bee?
He talks a bit like this.
Okay. Oi,
Up next,
I'm Sting. I
had this dream about some blue turtles, and I wrote this song about that dream.
Nobody listens knows who Sting is anymore. They don't know what we're talking about.
He put out an album called "Dream of the Blue Turtles."
Yep, I had that album.
Never mind.
Yeah. I love the way you like Tim. One of my favorite things about the way you'll start these bits and you go.
I had nothing to say. Except next week,
All right,
Mr. Cablasto is going to fill in, and we're going to watch a movie called Night Killer. Killer who only kills during the day. I read a little bit about it.
Is that actually the title?
No, it's just Night Killer.
It's called Night Killer?
He wears a glove with long fingernails on it and a burnt mask.
No.
It's an Italian movie. Next week, Cablasto. And you know what I'm going to do to torment him? I'm going to ask him, so did you ever spill food on someone in a theater? Did you ever have to get up and go to the bathroom in the theater and miss part of a movie? Did you ever fall asleep in the theater?
You think he'll flip out?
Did you ever get kicked out of a theater? I'm just going to keep asking until he...
until he never wants to come on the show again. Nice.
But yes.
You ever have a grimace shake in the theater?
That's way over with now.
I know. That's why I did
it. So that's that was it. No mail. We'll like and subscribe. SETI BIMCO.
Send us email. SETI BIMCO with an E at the end. Gmail.
Yeah. See, you're with it. You're with it.
Listen to my other podcast, Hypothetical Island. Buy my books, The Olympians and the Upcoming Asgardians. Buy Tim's books. Send us money, fistfuls of cash in the mail. Here's Tim's address.
We'll say that after Cablasto, can we say we're nearing September? We'll say this.
Yes, let's announce the big plans.
Should we?
And then, but Tim, after we waste our time with this Kevin Cablasto episode, just kidding, Kevin, we love you. You and I are doing something pretty damn excited. Can we share with the people what it is?
Sure. We're at odds about what to call it. I'm going to call it Sticky Web September.
I'm going to call it Spider Month. Spider Month. I think y'all know what we're talking about here. We are going to spend the month of September watching consecutive episodes of the 1970s Spider-Man TV show starring Nicholas Hammond. Yep. Now, if you go back through our back catalog, you'll see Tim and I have already done an episode. Yep. It was amazing. Involved a woman fighting a bear. John and Tim did an episode. It was amazing. Did not involve a woman fighting a bear, but still pretty great. Yep. This is a show that I discovered I love it. I can't believe this wasn't the biggest thing in the world. And we're going to devote, 4 episodes?
Yeah, I think so.
Spider Month.
Spider Month or Sticky Web September.
Spider Month or Sticky Web September.
Arachnid Fall.
That's a good one too.
Arachnid Falls.
Peter. I got nothing. Don't start saying stuff until you know what you're going to say, George.
September month.
There it is. That's the worst one. Let's go with it. Aunt May, and September month.
That's what I'm calling it.
Also, I'm pretty sure Aunt May's not in the series at any point. So I think this is going to be good.
Oh, she is in it.
Oh, she is. We talked about, she's played by multiple different actors, though, like in the background. They don't give her a part.
That's it.
All right.
Gotta go.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week see you in 2 weeks for Spider Month. September month.
September month.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Here's the other 3 reasons. In 1967, too many people in Fook were finding dead hippies in their outhouses and thus had to burn them to the ground. I just thought there were too many dead hippies in there.
Wow, there's so many dead hippies in here.
In 1970, Outhouse Fest was outlawed as Outhouse Fest 69 attracted up to 11 hippies, 5 of which died in Kathy Crabtree's outhouse, and the other 4 gave Eddie Crabtree's outhouse herpes.
Sounds like it was the movie Bread.
Sorry. And it didn't go anywhere. There was no
You already did a 1970, Tim.
No, but I mean, there's no third joke this one. That's why I gave up.
Oh, there's no
I gave
third
up
joke?
on the dead hippie joke. Oh, I did. I guess I wrote Travis Crabtree, formerly Bobby Joe Crabtree, drove to Texarkana with the intent to buy a fancy hippie-proof outhouse, but came back to Folk only with the dead hippie in his truck.
How about this one?
I just didn't want any dead hippie jokes.
They got really sick of all the dead hippies stinking up the town because they were just laying there in piles, just rotting and stinking. And what are we going to do? We have to stop killing all these hippies. That's when they realized the hippies were actually alive and just smelled really bad.